Yes.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Newington Board of Education to order for December 10th, 2025. The time is 7:03 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deb, would you please call the roll?
Here.
Here.
Marissa Lansing,
Here.
Here.
Amy Friday,
Here.
Sam Sarma, Brian Skibo,
Here.
Dr. Gail Stanley,
Here.
Jessica Weaver.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up to, presentations of awards. We have a Everyday Hero presentation first. Dr. Brummett.
Yes, let me grab my notes. And the board has seen bus drivers get Everyday Hero awards previously, but this is a very unique circumstance. Our Everyday Hero this evening is Lee Wang. She's a bus driver here in town. She was nominated by Megan Mackey, who's a parent here in town. And she's with us tonight as well. Here's the story that Miss Mackey wrote. My name is Megan Mackey, and I have 3 children who attend Newington schools. My youngest, Molly, is a 3rd grader at John Patterson Elementary and is the reason for this email. Just before Molly got off the bus yesterday, and this is a few weeks ago, a bear appeared between our yard and the neighbors. A vehicle had pulled over to watch the bear, and I was inside the house trying to determine where the bear was at the time bus V arrived. When Molly got off the bus and started walking up our driveway, about 100-foot long driveway, yesterday afternoon, the people from the vehicle yelled, "There was a bear." Thanks to the diligence of Miss Lee, the bus V driver, to not just drop and run, Molly was able to turn around and run back onto the bus. With Molly safely on board, Miss Lee then continued on her route, but called someone at the bus garage who then immediately contacted me. I had just become aware of the bear, so hadn't had the time to get in my vehicle to pick Molly up as soon as she got off the bus. After the fact, Molly reported that she was physically safe thanks to Miss Lee. Her 2 main concerns were, something happens to me if I come down the driveway, or me not knowing where she was. So she said she immediately felt better when she heard Miss Lee call the bus garage to report what had happened and hearing that they would contact me, meaning Mom. If there was any kind of going the extra mile to keep our kids safe award, which is called Everyday Hero, I would like to nominate Miss Lee. Not only did she show care and concern for my child, keeping Molly physically safe, but she addressed her mental and emotional health as well as calling the bus garage. I'm confident Molly and I will remember this situation for the rest of our lives, and Miss Lee's actions will forever be the best part of it. Thank you for all you do to keep our kids safe.
Thank you. Congratulations. What a beautiful letter. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just a quick photo op.
Thank you.
Are there any board members that would like to, Mr. Holleran?
Ms. Wing, thank you so much for being responsive, being responsible, doing the right thing in a very tense and have to think fast type of situation. I think this speaks a lot to what it means to our bus drivers and our fleet organization in Newington. I think it speaks to the value of why we continue to support that organization. I know Dean Barnes is sitting right next to you. And I think that this is a reoccurring story that we hear over and over again about how our bus drivers understand our sense of community, our sense of safety, and what it means to take care of our children, and what makes our bus staff special in Newington. And we need to continue to support them and give them what they need because they deliver every single day. Thank you very much.
Ms. Weaver.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So for those who don't know in the room, we do an Everyday Hero Award pretty much every meeting, and it's usually staff nominating other staff and trying to highlight, you know, the things that maybe we don't see every day in the community. Lately, we've been having a lot of bus drivers be actual heroes of like life and death situations. So thank you. And I know that Bear has been like a celebrity in town, and not the good kind you want. So thank you so much. Thank you for nominating one of our bus drivers. It's always so good. We want to have that parent engagement and to know that all of our students are safe, not just when they leave and come to our doors, but when they go to their own home door. And Mr. Barnes can attest to the extra caliber that our bus drivers have. So Ms. Wang, thank you so much for what you do every day. We always talk about how bus drivers are the first to see, the first face that most students see on their way there and the last they see when they get home. And really the last one they see before they see danger and then are in safety again. So thank you for what you do. And thank you for nominating. It's really one of those stories we like to highlight to show just how amazing those of us who are not in the classroom every day, every single one of our employees has a way to contribute to our students, and this one being the actual safety. So thank you both for sharing this story, and congratulations.
Ms. Beatrice.
Just really quickly to build upon what my colleagues have said, thank you so much for your quick thinking. Bus drivers in particular are called on. The roads are not always safe. Drivers aren't always doing what they're supposed to be. You see things that those of us kind of just shake in our boots, just thinking about on top of being in charge of the safety of our kids. So thank you for what you do every single day. What is so amazing though, apart from the quick thinking, is the level of communication between the family from Mr. Barnes and making sure that the students are safe. And just a quick question for Mr. Barnes, do we need to add bears in the policy manual for the training that we provide to our drivers? It's a tough job to begin with. Do we need to add an extra layer of the training to everybody? So thank you again for your quick thinking and your always incredible attention to the safety of our students.
Congratulations. Thank you for saving Molly from that bear. Have you had the bear visit again?
Oh, yeah, he's in the neighborhood here.
He's in the neighborhood. Yeah. So you see him. So you're okay. So, but okay, be careful next time. Thank you for coming out. And now we have our holiday card contest winners.
And it's
so cute.
wonderful to see all of our very talented artists in the room. On this slide is a collection of the 6 contest winners, but I'm going to go one by one. And then when I call your name, come on up. I just want to give you a little background. We've been doing this now, I think about 4 or 5 years. And each winner, we choose one selection from every school. This year, we did not have any submissions from one school, so we have 6 students here tonight being honored. When you come up, we'll give you a certificate, and we're also going to give you a collection of cards with your design on it so that your family can send them out to special friends and family members as part of your holiday celebration. Also tonight, we have a member of the Art League here. She's in the back. Remind me of your name again, I'm sorry. Didn't hear that, Olivia? Melissa Lucet, my apologies. She heard about this. We were at the Waterfall Festival together, and I mentioned how we celebrate this every December. So she's here tonight to also acknowledge you through her Art League work. So I'll let you kind of come up at the end if that's okay. All right, so let me get started. We'll go in order here of how they're written on my list. So our first winner, let me go into the full picture, is drum roll. Let me scroll up. All right, look at that cute one. Ah, there it is. All right, look at this cutie pie. This is Martin Miranda Pagan from Elizabeth Green School, grade 3, with his decorative penguin. Come on up, Martin.
We're gonna get a quick picture. Yeah.
And while they're taking the picture, I also use these cards to send out holiday greetings to my colleagues throughout the state, some of our local legislators, the town council, everybody. Yes, you can come over here. Yeah, make sure we'll let you take picture with your family.
Oh, yeah, sure. How you
So well done, Martin, from Elizabeth Green School, grade 3. Yeah, so these cards go everywhere. They go to town council, all over the state, and however you choose to use them, but I was drawn to that beautiful design. Okey-dokey. Our next awardee is Madison Capola, grade 1, from Anna Reynolds. Come on up, Madison. Look at these beautiful snowmen. So look at your card already being used to provide holiday greetings. Although your sweater looks like our previous winner. Congratulations. Madison, I'm sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Casola from Anna Reynolds School, grade 1. All righty, now we're gonna segue over to John Patterson, Mr. Theo Eisman, grade 4 from John Patterson. Come on up, Theo. And Theo, your art teacher called me when she saw that you won. She was so excited. And his design included a lot of different holiday celebrations in it, which I thought was really lovely. And of course, his name is on that too. I didn't catch that right away. First I thought that was but it's Theo. All right, well done, Theo, grade 4, John Patterson Elementary. All right, our next winner is Isabella Bahar. She is a first grader at Ruth Chafee School. Come on up, Isabella. And she's got a lovely reindeer on her card. Hey, you want to do the whole family?
Do you want one of your phone? Okay.
Congratulations. Beautiful job. Congratulations. All righty, our next award winner, let me scroll down here, is Jasleen Macri, grade 6, John Wallace Middle School. Beautiful snowman.
Yeah. Look at this art.
All righty, congratulations. And last, but certainly not least, and my apologies, the orientation on this slide is a little bit sideways, but we'll get the right card up there, is Ariba Bukhari from Newington High School, grade 9. A lovely picture of, is that cinnamon rolls? I love cinnamon rolls at the holidays. And you can come on up, Mom. Mom wants to come up for a picture as well.
You go first.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And now I'd like to invite up our colleague from the Art League, if you wouldn't mind saying a little bit about what you represent, and I'll let you go from there.
Didn't have anything prepared, but I'll do my best. Yes, so I'm Alyssa Lewis. And I represent the Newington Art League, and we are trying to do better about connecting with our community. That's one of our goals, especially with our young artists in our community. It's really an honor to be here and celebrating you young artists. And we threw together some little gifts for all of you and to help you hopefully keep making art wherever you are. So there's a bag for each of you. We had.
Why don't we
Come
have
back
our,
up.
all of our winners can come back up to get their gift, and maybe we'll do a group photo as well.
Go ahead.
So this is a new addition. We haven't had the Art League here before, but we're thrilled to partner with them.
For a picture, okay?
So everyone gather around. Is everyone back up here?
She's coming.
All right, here we go. We'll gather around. All right, if Miss Craig, would you mind taking a photo? Why don't you get in there, Miss Paradia, as well? There's our beautiful winners again. We love art. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Any board members have any comments for our lovely artists? Mr. Holleran?
I'll make this brief because I know parents are trying to get out of here, school night. Wonderful art. I always appreciate seeing them every single year. I don't have anything more to say than this goes on my mantle very proudly every single year, and it makes me smile every single morning, especially on Christmas Day, which my family celebrates. Thank you so much. I love that I got Ruth Chafee's because that's my alma mater. So thank you, Isabella. And if we have more information about how to get involved with the Newington Art League, would you be able to provide that? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, I'll just be quick on our Love Fest. Thank you all so much for coming out and supporting and showing what amazing talent all of your students have. To the students, always so impressed. This is probably my favorite part of board meetings, just to be able to get like the true art. My cousin had one a couple years ago and our whole family got them. And now we're like, can we do that again? And I'm like, you got to make more art, girly, like, bring it up. But just want to say thank you all for supporting and showing your support for the arts as we try to do here. The talent is clear. So if anyone wants, to get commissions going, we're happy to do that as well. But just want to say congratulations to all the winners, and I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. Drive safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a
It's
good
nice.
Oh, there's a lot of grandparents here.
Yeah, well, that's why I was surprised by the crowd, but I think we had a lot of family.
Yeah, I love that.
Too. That's awesome.
All right, at this time, we can move on to public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. She'll share.
You're online.
Bye. I'm not seeing, if you're online, you can raise your hand to participate and be called on. Okay. All right, seeing none, we can move on to our consent agenda. Mr. Holleran.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented for the approval of meetings for the regular meeting October 29th, 2025, and the approval of minutes for the organizational meeting November 11th, 2025.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No. We can do all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes unanimously, 8-0. All right, Superintendent of Schools report. Dr. Brummett.
All right, as usual, I will not read this to you verbatim, but I wanted to let everyone know some of the activities happening in the district. One of the things I'd like to bring up is our Office of Human Capital Development, who've been hard at work doing lots of recruitment, and especially in the area of paras and tutors. So I wanted the board to be aware of that on Monday, Mr. Freese, myself, and Ms. Foy will be heading over to meet with the town manager, because we really want to move forward this year with the para benefits component that many board members have been pushing for. So I wanted to stress the work of the Human Capital Department is quite busy, because we have a lot of retention concerns with our paras. So they do many other things like hire teachers and provide a lot of training, but I wanted to make sure they were acknowledged. There's a lot of work noted here in the curriculum department. We do math league and we host culture museums. There is a curriculum subcommittee meeting tomorrow evening at 6:30. So those of you that would like to participate, it's held both online and in the Helen Nelson room. And actually, Ms. Freeman presented at a conference, a national conference recently, which is featured in this report. So progress reports, progress conferences are going on now. So many of you probably know that because you're involved. They've been advertising. Oh, no, I won't talk about the high school too much because I think our board representatives will probably be doing that. Under student services, we've got lots of work going on with our AAC evaluations, which is the evaluations we do relative to speech and hearing and giving kids methodologies to communicate if they're not verbal. That's very important work. Our preschool students are hard at work. They recently had a touch a truck opportunity, which I was able to visit. Boy, oh boy, do kids love to touch trucks. That was, you should, and some of them, they were so high, they had to get like a stairway up, but they loved it. And our school psychologists, social workers are extraordinarily busy. This report submitted by our high school department head for psychology and social work, Angie, and she and her team do a beautiful job supporting all of our kids. And then there's some information about some of the things happening in the middle school department. One of the things in special ed that is we're doing a lot of work this year with called co-teaching, where regular and special ed teacher work together. Really what we see happening in that type of relationship is that when they work well together, the entire class benefits. So the teacher and the co-teacher can circulate and support an entire class of 20 some odd children. We are expanding that district wide. We believe it's a huge lever for higher achievement for all. And thanks to the work of the special ed department under the direction of Marilyn Giulioso, we've seen some good gains there. And that's true at all of our schools have some form of co-teaching at this time. And as many of you know, the John Wallace project continues to click along. We've had some site visits. I can't overstate when we had the visit recently, myself and Amy were able to go to look at the finished wing or nearly finished wing. I was so tickled by the facial expressions of the teachers. They were like joyful to see the doors on the classrooms, to see light. Let there be light, natural light, that is. And then there's a lot going on there and otherwise with some speed and fitness tests and our connections program that helps support our kids with emotional challenges. And as always, our custodial department is hard at work keeping our schools clean. Tonight, you'll hear from Jason Plum relative to some indoor air quality updates. So I will leave it at that. You'll also hear an update from the transportation department tonight relative to the bus replacement cycle. And the monthly expense report is provided. It's at your chair. I won't go through it in detail, but if you have any questions, please see myself or Ms. Bovier, our CFO. I'll turn it back to board chair to see if there's any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Beaver?
Just wanted to know, loved the Touch a Truck one. And then I noticed too that John Wallace is set to do some presentations about Disability Awareness Month in January. So I thought that was really great. Just some of the things that are important to highlight, and just would encourage everyone, like new board members and those in the public. These are quite extensive reports that come out. And so they're chock full of really good details, and just want to thank everyone for doing that. One of them being, and I don't want to steal the thunder of our student reps, but some of the activities around Veterans Day last month, and as well as I think a movie night coming up. So I won't say.
I'm not going to touch that one.
I'm not
I know
touching
that's a high
that
school
one,
issue.
but just good to see a lot of the activities being done for the community within our schools.
And I would like to add that Kim DePolis arranged the Touch a Truck at Patterson, one of our very talented pre-K teachers. And it was to benefit, she has a student in her classroom who has a very rare disorder. And the proceeds from the Touch a Truck event will go toward research in that arena. So it was nice to see that level of support, and all the kids, the younger kids got to go to touch the trucks, not just the preschool kids. So thank you very much.
Mr. Halloran?
Thank you. And yeah, just to add to the John Wallace, we're building a renovation project. Thank you. Heard the same thing. Teachers were thrilled. I'm sure students will be thrilled as well. It's not just the doors, not just like, they love the colors, and there is not a deficiency in whiteboards, which is really good for what we want to do in those schools. So project is coming along nicely, and yeah, it's moving fast, but it's good to see that it's being well received.
Mr. Newton?
Reiterate what Sean said, there's also they're transitioning over the Christmas break on time. So one of the wings that was worked on, when the lockers are in, it'll finally be open, but it's impressive. They're moving pretty good.
Anyway, I had a question on the co-teaching. You don't have to answer it now, but just like a budget consideration, like does it affect at all the budget? And I think at one point you had said like potentially paras wouldn't be needed versus if there's a special ed teacher in the room. So can you just maybe elaborate, but then talk more at the budget season?
Will do. And yes, there is currently a request for a special ed teacher in the budget that would support the co-teaching. We're looking at that. Too soon to say how that'll flare out. But yes, it is a model that does require budget support. We have, whenever we have been able to, because we have so many unfilled para positions right now, determine whether we could leverage some monies for paras toward a teacher, which we've done at a couple of our schools. It's budget neutral, and it allows us to support students, but you can't always do that because some kids do need that individualized support for a variety of reasons. But we have done that wherever possible with some creative work of the HCD department. So but co-teaching we've done a lot of training with it. We've seen classes where it's gone well, the student achievement goes up, and it's a very positive model. And we hope to continue to expand it district-wide. But yes, there is a budgetary impact.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay. All right, we can go to our committee report. So we have our two student representatives, Abby and Danny. We'll turn it over to you.
Hi, so we have a lot of exciting stuff this month, and we'll just kind of recap November too, since we weren't able to be here for that. So we can go ahead and get started. So first we have what's happening inside the high school. So we recently had the alumni panel. So we do that every year, and alumni from last year come back and visit to talk to the current seniors about their college experience and any tips they have for applying and getting ready for college. So we wanted to shout out Miss Slater and then the school counseling intern, Mr. Bassett, for organizing the event, and then just thank all of the alumni that took time out of their break to come and see us and talk to us. And then the sophomore and junior classes had their college workshops. So sophomores kind of got to talk about career exploration, and then juniors talked more about college searching and starting that process so that they're prepared. And that was during gym and health classes. And then we also had the choir and orchestra concert. So the choir concert was yesterday, and then the orchestra concert is going to be tomorrow night. And Danny actually performed in the choir concert, and it was really good. Everyone put a lot of hard work in, so it's really good.
The clubs, or first of all, hi everybody. The clubs at Newington High School have been very active these past few months. I think we both noticed a lot of service going on in the clubs. Starting off with student council, this past Friday, the officers had the opportunity to attend the CAS Leadership Conference at Southern Connecticut State University. And there they were able to hear from keynote speaker Brandon Sherrod, who is the Yale assistant basketball coach, and also attended many breakout sessions to help with increasing membership, outreach, turning negative events into a positive outlook, and also planning for college. And also on their themed Thursday for Tropical Day, with help with administration, student council helped pass out over 1,200 leis to help everybody feel the tropical vibes in the middle of November. For FBLA, they're currently hosting their Stuff a High School service project. And if anybody's interested in donating any items, they can reach out to Miss or Dr. Dennis. In addition, the club's opening branches at both Kellogg and Wallace, and both middle schoolers and high schoolers are excited to work with each other. I know Wallace just held their first info session meeting yesterday. And also they raised about $350 through the use of sales of hot cocoa for Alzheimer's Association. And also last month, Key Club volunteered at Boxes to Boots to help send presents and care packages to actively deployed military personnel for the holidays.
So just for some more clubs, DECA just went to their power trip to DC, and one of our participants, Monica, got an award just to recognize her for what she did at the conference. I think it was for her role play practice, so that was really exciting. And then the drama club, we closed last month for Close for the Holidays. We just finished up and we strike the stage and we're getting ready for Anastasia. The cast list just came out last night and stage crew is going to be starting work on that next month. And then National Honor Society had the Heavenly Hats fundraiser. So Sam Jacobs and DECA members were the ones who organized it, and we were able to raise $856 for the foundation.
All sports officially came to an end this past week with Newington football making it all the way to the semifinals. They unfortunately did not win, but they did win the quarterfinals and the rivalry game in a very exciting final touchdown. Hopefully everybody got to see that final touchdown. For all-state soccer players, they were selected. There's Jack Vendetti, Keegan Alderucci, and Jillian Bouchard, who was also selected for all region, which is incredibly impressive. Basketball and hockey have started their seasons and they have scrimmages this week, and boys swimming is recruiting new members. For a little surprise for you guys, Abby and I wanted to reach out to the middle schoolers to get their voices involved at the Board of Ed meetings. So this past month, we went to go visit them and we visited their student councils and we heard back from we got to meet with both of them and see what they're doing. So at Kellogg, we were able to see that they were organizing a Spirit Week, including anything but a backpack day, which was very exciting to see. We know a lot of students love that. They were also finishing up a food drive for each canned food brought in, classrooms got to put a sticker on a printed out treat in their classroom so they could track their progress. And we saw while exploring the school, trying to find out where student council was meeting, there are so many clubs that are active at Martin Kellogg and John Wallace. But we noticed a mural club, drama practice, Stuco meeting, environmental club, and co-ed flag football all happening at once. So a very active day for Kellogg.
When we went to visit Wallace, we noticed a lot of similar stuff. They also held a kindness spirit week leading up to Thanksgiving break. So they had Rhyme Without Reason, they had tie-dye / purple day, they had culture day, and they did something which we thought was really interesting. They did games during lunch waves in addition to their pep rally. So that's something really cool that we're thinking about actually implementing at the high school during our spirit weeks. And then we were really impressed by their food drive. When we met, they were actually collecting all of their items into their student council office, and they raised over 1,700 items. So it was really impressive. And we also noticed they were very excited to talk about the sports they offered there. So they talked about flag football, basketball, and dodgeball. They were all really excited. And one of the students actually mentioned how they were surprised how organized it was and how professional it was. Like they felt like it wasn't just a club, it was like actual practice. They were learning real skills. So we thought that was really cool. And it was just awesome to get to visit both schools and see what they were both up to and just see how involved and committed all of the students are. So then to finish up, we have our shout outs. So Brooklyn Bradley, who's a senior, showed off her voice by opening up with Roar by Katy Perry and singing the fight song at a conference for CAS and CIAC. And then YAGP is the world's largest student ballet scholarship audition. And one of our students at the high school, Ella, who's a junior, is going to be performing a solo ballet variation in a group contemporary number. And then Sydney Bluford, who's a senior, is going to be performing a solo ballet variation, a solo contemporary, and a solo group performance. So they also just participated. They were in the Nutcracker last week and this week. So they're really busy and it's just been really cool. Yeah. And it's been really awesome. They're so talented, so we want to shout them out. And then Jenna Sanseverino earned a full ride scholarship to Boston University through QuestBridge. So everyone's been congratulating her. It's been a really big deal. So we just wanted to give her some recognition.
And we also want to shout out a lot of the activities that took place over Veterans Day. To list a few things that occurred, Chamber Choir performed at the Senior Center for Veterans Day. There was a veterans panel that was held, and also cards were written off to veterans by multiple clubs. And also, we want to shout out the NHS Career Academies, who will be hosting their K-pop Demon Hunters movie night on December 12th. So we hope to see some of you there. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you all so much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments for our student board members? Wait, he always goes first. Okay, Mr. Halloran.
I don't have to go first. Just know I want to say something. Daniel and Abby, thank you so much. Always appreciate your report. First question is, how is the school spirit going in NHS? Are we seeing an uptick?
Yeah, so we've definitely seen it improve a lot and doing things like our tropical days. So all of us were at all of the entrances in the morning with Miss Tigno and Miss Batista, and we were handing out lace to students as they walked in. So we're trying to do things to make it more inclusive for everyone and make it something that everyone wants to participate in. And then with sports as well, we've had so much more people consistently going to football games and promoting everything. And you just see everyone getting a lot more excited. So I would definitely say it's at an uptick right now. Yeah,
that student section in the stands keeps growing, which is great. Yes, the eye of the storm. Thank you very much. I really appreciated the inclusion of the middle school update, mostly because my 7th grader gives me updates to what did you do today stuff and how was your day? Good. So it's nice to see what's actually happening. Is that something you plan on doing again?
Yeah, we're going to try to reach out to them each month
Great.
and get something new each time and just reach out to their student council members. We got representatives from Wallace doesn't have a president and vice president yet, but we have representatives from each.
Awesome. Is there anything you need from us?
No, you guys have been awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Ms. Weaver.
Just want to say congrats as always. Just amazing stuff. Abby, how are you doing with college apps?
I'm doing good.
She's doing good. She's like, don't ask me about that right now. Why would you put me on the spot there? No, but just want to say, great update as always. Always great to see how active it is. Great to see a lot of the high school activities kind of moving down to the middle schools as well, starting earlier with FBLA. Yeah, and Dr. Dennis is great with that kind of stuff. And yeah, as I was alluding to, the K-pop Demon Hunters, we talked about it in our youth adult council, looking at maybe doing one on substance use as well. Not the actual movie K-pop Demon Hunter, but something of the sort. But always great to see. So thank you for also informing the community about all the events that are going on, because I think we get our different perspectives, but sometimes the community doesn't get that. So appreciate that. And also very excited. So interesting that they didn't drop the cast list on a Friday this time. Not sad about that one. But just want to wish you guys luck as you go into your holiday break. And remember to let us know too how mental health is going and those kinds of things. I know this is always a stressful time of year. It's a happy time of year, but it's a lot. So when asked to when you guys come back after break, not only to guard your own mental health, but let us know what is the vibe in the schools. Thanks, guys.
I will be at K-pop Demon Hunters because my 4-year-old loves that movie and we probably watch it like 1,000 times, but what's one more? Hopefully she'll sing along like she does at home, but she might be shy. I love that you went to visit the middle school. I think that's awesome. And it really it shows that you just are interested in seeing what they're doing. And hopefully they loved having high school students visit them. So that's really cool. And very happy to hear about the middle school sports that have been going. I know that I've heard from others too, that it's a very organized, and I believe they're teachers, right? That volunteer, or not volunteer, but get stipends for,
Yes.
for that. So that's cool that we have all that talent willing to teach actual skills, for those clubs. So that's also a budget item that will hopefully continue. And just, we mentioned it 100 times, but the tropical day, I just love that you kind of allowed everyone to participate, and it was something that was easy to do, and hopefully everyone walking in was greeted you with a smile and then wore the leis all day, because I think that's really cool that you're being inclusive and showing that we want that school spirit. So thank you again for your update. It's fabulous to see you. I hope that you have a wonderful holiday and Happy New Year. Any other questions or anything for our student reps? Okay, bye. Thanks. Okay, we have our facilities committee update. Mr. Holler, would you be able to provide the update? And finance, I guess, at the same time?
Yes, the December 3rd, Facilities and Finance held a joint committee meeting to go over the capital improvement project reserve fund. Sam did send some information my way, which I will share because he apologizes for not being here today. He wanted to thank the superintendent and her team for the clear presentation on our district's future financial needs. Some highlights he wanted to point out was our school bus replacement cycle hasn't been fully funded in previous budgets, which is now posing a challenge requiring significant investment to ensure safe transportation. The board can pass a budget, but funding responsibility rests within the town ultimately. And as finance chair, he trusts that the town will do what's needed when funding our district budget. He also wanted to add that he wants to share with the town residents the urgent need to examine how we can develop a comprehensive benefits package for our district's paraprofessional staff, particularly healthcare package, and remind town residents the Board of Education and the Finance Budget Committee does not hold the power of the purse. We can advocate and pass a budget, but ultimately the town council has the power of the purse and authority to allocate and fund education budgets in our town as per the town charter. So that is from Mr. Sharma. My own comments to kind of recap going over the CIP reserve fund, which Dr. Brumman will do later in the agenda. High level, met with her team. The current year came in at $1,200,000 as initially discussed. Some line items had been reworked, particularly the purchasing of certain radios to be more in line with what the police and emergency services use. The networking, in terms of technology, Chromebooks, we had to repurchase some server racks that were appropriate size and could lock, and also replacing district-wide HVAC units. The older R22 gas units are being replaced as needed. That was done at the high school, Elizabeth Green and Ruth Chafee, and a van for the technology team so they can get around from school to school. I think one of the biggest issues is, as Sam had mentioned in his comments, was that we do have a bubble for our funding our fleet of buses, and that is due to underfunding for many years, which has kind of put us in a cliff where now we have to find a way to purchase a lot of buses because if they're at the end of their useful life cycle. They're approaching that 11-year mark, which is beyond what you would get from a contract company, which typically does 5 to 6 years. But we push it as long as we can. But at this point, we really need new buses. There is a plan, which we'll go over in depth, I believe, to kind of level the bubble, because what's going to happen is the cycle will continue. It'll get worse. Plus, when we add in the cost of inflation, if we don't make an investment in it now, it's going to be much more expensive to do it in the future. So that is going to be part of our budget discussions as we go forward. My opinion is it's critical. We just heard from an everyday hero today, one of our bus drivers, and we really need to make sure that our kids are safe going to and from our schools. And that includes making sure that they have a fleet that isn't aging out, which it currently is. So without any more than that, I know we'll get to the CIP later in the meeting tonight. But that in a nutshell is basically how that went, and you will get the full overview later.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess Sean mentioned we're talking about later, but are there any questions right now for, go ahead.
I just want to comment and say thank you to Lynn, Dean, Jason, everyone who gave presentations that night. There's a wonderful presentation by Lynn in your board packet when we go over CIP. That is and Craig. Thank you. Thank you, and Craig. Sorry, I was thinking those at the table that night. Some very nice visualizations. So appreciate you taking the time to help us visual learners.
Okay. And then policy has not met yet, but you're going to meet beginning of the year.
Yes.
Most likely.
Yes.
And then curriculum committee. So we met on November 19th. We do have another meeting tomorrow. But for November 19th, we talked about student achievement. So Ms. Freeman shared our next gen accountability results, which there's a lot to celebrate in there. There's highest, just I'll read a few things, but highest ELA growth for all students and high need students in the last 4 years, highest math performance for all students and high need students in the last 4 years, and highest math growth for math growth for students and high needs in the last 3 years. Sorry, I missed one, and highest ELA performance for students in high need students in the last 4 years. So there's a lot of like consistent growing in 4 years, no dipping of numbers. The link to the report is in the minutes, so I would encourage anyone to go and look. It's a very thorough report, and it shows, I think wellness was maybe the only one that we were, I know, it's always wellness, Jessica, that we were lower than state average, but it's because potentially how it's scored, how it's ranked, yeah. Yes, it's an art, not a science. We also talked about, this is an interesting one, student achievement trends in grades 3 through 8 for the state, for Newington and then surrounding towns. So basically, we noticed there's a dip for both math and ELA in grade 5. And the thought was that it's because of a transition to middle school. So what Ms. Freeman did was look at Newington along with 3 other school districts in our DIRG and found that so one district had middle school starting in sixth grade, and one had, I can't remember. I think did one start in seventh? And there was a dip in, and then we start in fifth grade. Sorry, I left my other bag in the other. Yeah, I don't have it. But the dip was consistent for the middle school that starts in sixth grade. They dipped in sixth grade, and the middle school that started. Yeah. And then there was only one other, I think it was Cromwell, that started the same time as sixth grade, but they didn't dip, they were kind of steady, but in eighth grade, there was a huge dip. So there's some follow-up for that. Obviously, it's, 3 districts that were compared to Newington, so it's not like a huge study, but it was interesting to see that the dip did happen in most districts consistent with the transition to middle school. So we did recommend some further analysis just to kind of try and even out that, kind of level out the growth and achievement and not see such a drastic dip. Happened math and science, or math and English. And then, so that's that. And then, and reach out to those districts too, like Cromwell, to see what they might do in sixth grade that we could do as well. And then we talked about student achievement on the fall universal screeners. So again, this is something they do 3 times a year. Baseline is done in the fall. We'll see over the course of the year how those go. There was of note that the fall benchmark performance dropped in grades 5, 7, and 8 in both middle schools. I don't know if there was a reason for that, but differences could be because, that was math. There's difference in assessment that might be a contributing factor. And then we talked about math. The agenda for math was the math item was expectations for data collection on math achievement. So we kind of came to the conclusion that we won't have a lot of information or enough information to prove that getting rid of 7th grade math is going to work, because we didn't do it this year. But there's other things that we can look at. We also talked about how 6th grade math is looks to be promising de-leveling, but it was only 1 year of data, and we'll have to reassess every year. We decided that we would use, and we said that the state benchmark doesn't come out until the end of the year, so we wouldn't really be able to tell early on what the benchmark assessment is going to prove. But we decided that we'll analyze IXL for the winter, and but we did recognize that's not a valid tool for our study on de-leveling, but it will be helpful in some capacity. And then what we're gonna do starting tomorrow is kind of take a step back from all of that's happened and all of the discussions that have taken place, and take a step back and go back to the why. And I do want to say a lot has changed from when it was presented originally last year to now. And we can get more into it in the committee meeting, but also like bring it back to the full board. But a lot has changed regarding the Bridge to Algebra program, or the not that the why has changed, but a lot of the concerns that were brought up were talked about, and a lot has kind of gone on. So we want to kind of just take a step back, get back to the why, get back to the research, get back to the mission and vision of what we're hoping to accomplish, or what the curriculum department's hoping to accomplish, and put it all together and then share for transparency purposes, and so that we can all just get back on the same page of what the goal will be going forward. And everyone is well aware of the decision and can know what's going on. So we'll start that tomorrow. Hopefully get through a draft, and then at our January meeting, review it and then bring it to the full board after that. End of January, early February. And we did have one parent attend and provided feedback on the math. She did mishear some things, but she challenged the validity and sufficiency of the evidence to inform the decisions, and there's data limitations, which we also identified. And yeah, and she mentioned building thinking classrooms as the classroom model, kind of looking to understand how that's beneficial. So yeah, any questions? Go ahead, Ms. Dr. Stanley.
Thanks, Amy, for the update. I would just ask for us to consider, or a suggestion for the committee to consider, when you're looking not only at the IXL scores on the success of the new program, or de-leveling the math, is that we also gain some perspective from the teachers and how it's working for them, as well as some perspectives from the students. And it would be nice to have like or it could be nice to include a survey or a public comment as well from the parents. Just general broad strokes about how is your kid doing, and checking in with the kids. Because there may be some unexpected things that were fearful in the beginning, but may have not come to fruition or something.
Yeah, I know that the curriculum department has been very active in talking to teachers, especially in 6th grade, because it's already been de-leveled, but also noting like how, because the 7th grade math, it's not Algebra 1A this year, it's accelerated 7th grade, so it is a little bit different too. So, but yes, that's definitely part of it. And then also, I didn't mention, but the Ms. Kellogg is focusing on, with all the math teachers, the building thinking classrooms, and then like enhancing the rigor throughout. So aside from the 7th grade discussion, throughout all of our math classes, she's working on that. So that's also something that we can talk about and bring up. Mr. Halloran.
Yeah, I think to follow up on that as well, we did discuss trying to get some hard data around the change. Unfortunately, that takes time. It was something we just implemented, so it'll take time to actually get numbers, which is kind of what drives me. I'm an analytical type of person, but we did talk about anecdotal feedback as well from both teachers, students, parents, just to try to get kind of the emotional component to how it's going, while we're trying to find good ways to get hard data around how it's progressing. I believe we did actually look at Cheshire Public Schools as well, who implemented a de-leveling almost similarly, very similar to the way we did. While Cheshire's not exactly the same as we are, from what I've understood, their transition went very well. So we are looking at it from different angles, comparing DERGs, comparing schools who've also de-leveled. But it's just going to take a little time to figure out how to get the hard data. But I think it's important we get the anecdotal data as well.
Go ahead.
No, I'm something else. All right, moving on. I just had a follow-up question. When you were looking at the drop in our scores as we transitioned to middle school, and you pulled or you looked at the surrounding towns, were we able to see their pre-COVID data? Because I think our data, if I'm remembering, our scores fell even before COVID on this transition.
Like the specific to 5th graders, like the
Yeah.
trend, I don't.
I think it was
know.
persistent even before COVID, if I'm remembering those numbers right. So I was just making sure that we weren't just polling the cohort that suffered in COVID and now are entering middle school, and so their scores are dropping anyways. Like, I was wondering if there was comparison between
I
them.
think Ms. Freeman's looking how far back it
Yeah.
went. Yeah, if you have.
So the purpose of that report was specifically to answer the question, is the drop that we see in fifth grade performance specific to Newington? Is it specific to Newington with respect to it being fifth graders? Is it specific to Newington with respect to fifth grade happens to be the grade that kids transition to middle school? So that's the question that we were really looking to answer. And so when we looked at, again, it was just those 3 towns in our DIRG and the state, we saw that overall, there usually is a dip in scores when students transition. So it wasn't a grade 5 issue. It appeared to be something more structural, right? So when kids actually transition. The data that I shared went back to 21, 22. So pre-COVID also does, so pre-COVID is kind of a long time ago, because also keep in mind that in the COVID year, we did not do ESPA testing because everybody was at home. The following year, we did ESPA testing, but you could do it online or you could do it in person. So the state didn't really count the scores because it wasn't valid information. So when I say we go back, it's like when we start talking about 2018 performance, for me, it just feels really old. I mean, we could look at trends there, but I would also guess if we were going to look at performance back in 2018, I would also want to match that with populations, because I would also guess that the population of Newington has changed drastically since 2018 as well, and it would be the same for surrounding towns.
Thank you. Ms. Weaver?
Sorry, I don't want to take away from that conversation, but I also just, that next gen report I have beef with when it comes to the physical fitness one. They know it because I've been on record doing that. But jokes aside, one of the things that I just wanted to note too, Ms. Freeman, if you could provide, I think one of the indicators that I was looking at particular that I think has been a clear issue from the state, as well as the chronic absenteeism. Have we, I just don't have it right in front of me. Did we improve on that in the last year? I just can't see where that was. Okay. I can bring back last year's report and stuff. Just wanted to, obviously we're in better shape than the state, I think. Yeah, by 20 percentage points. But just wanted to note that clearly, it's one of those things we're not, it's still a statewide issue. We know that's something, school avoidance and all these things come up. Just wanted to elevate that topic as one that's a clear trend throughout the state.
Reading from my phone. So it looks like our points earned were 70.4 for all students, but for, and I don't use this word, I have to be clear, this is words that the state use when they say high needs students, it was 44.9. So what I don't have in front of me is what it was the year prior. I could look on my phone and find that report if you want that now.
Just more or less, is there, yeah, it's just more of a general question. If we have also, just looking back the last couple of years, that trend, and if we're making progress on that, obviously in the wake of COVID, knowing that that's been a key issue. Thank you. I literally want to talk to the committee about that. Like, we're getting dinged so hard on physical fitness, and I just don't agree. Our wellness teachers are great, so. Sorry.
It's definitely crazy. All right, any questions? Okay, so we can move on to our indoor air quality report. Mr. Plum.
Yes.
Hi.
Mr. Plum, come on up.
Thanks for sticking it out with us.
So while he's making his way to the podium, we are required to provide the board with an update annually about our efforts toward our air quality initiatives. So I will put your slide deck up, Mr. Plum, and just let me know when to advance.
Sure, and we can pass around this if you're curious. It's not powered up because it has battery power, so it's not much to pass around, but this is going to be referenced in the presentation. It's our sensor stuff that we put out in the classrooms. So yes, as Maureen said, we have to, each year I have to report to the board on our indoor air quality checklists. So this is the pile of checklists, school by school. And there's a series of checklists that we'll go over. They have to be posted on our Board of Ed website, and they have to be posted on each individual school's website. And those are currently posted in all of the state forms that have been submitted about a week ago. So next slide, please. The state of Connecticut requires each local or regional board of education to provide for a uniform inspection and evaluation program of the indoor air quality within each school building using the EPA agent's indoor air quality tools for schools program. So these checklists are out of the tools for schools program. They're pre-formatted and we literally take them and fill them out and check each box. So next slide. So the checklists that we have to submit on are these. So building, it's not all about air quality necessarily, it's about environment. So they actually have a new IAQ is now IEQ, indoor environment quality. It's starting to change names, but building cleanliness, indoor climate control, pest management, air contaminant or elimination, evidence of mold or mildew, water issues, and unpleasant smells are things that we're looking for. These 6 checklists are titled Building and Grounds, Waste Management. The biggest one, and where I spend a lot of my time, is ventilation. Well, thank you. And there's a general walkthrough, integrated pest management, kitchens, and that's it for the 6. These are the checklists that I have in front of me. So the checklists are filled out by stakeholders. For instance, we have a kitchen staff that fills out the kitchen portion of it, and the rest of it is really facilities and grounds, which I oversee. They're shared through the website, as I mentioned before. They're shared with the board, as we're doing now, and the forms are submitted to the state of Connecticut. The IAQ at Newington schools, it's multifaceted. So though we have these checklists that we lean on to go through the formal process to determine what air quality looks like in the classrooms or school buildings, we have some other methods that we use at the schools to take it a step further, enhance. So the EPA checklist we referred to earlier, the 6 checklists. We also do a biannual survey that goes out to all staff. So this is an opportunity twice a year for all staff to comment on. It's a checklist that has 13 questions. We keep it short and sweet so that we do get a lot of response, but it really focuses on it's like a high level boiled down version of the checklists. So it really lines up nicely with those. This portable sensor that you just saw go around is another method that we're going to use. We don't have enough sensors to do all the classrooms currently, but we do have them on order. So the advantage of these versus our item 5 on here is our building management system, which is a computerized controls that we have for the HVAC equipment. These actually log data. So these are hooked to the Wi-Fi. They have a way of hooking it to the Wi-Fi. And every 5 seconds, it gives a readout of temperature, CO2, and relative humidity. So we can see that on a graphical form. We'll see an image of that later. Very handy. We're seeing Boston, Massachusetts, for instance, at their schools, you can go in as a parent or anyone in the community and look up the school that you're interested in and look up the classroom number and see live what their temperature, relative humidity, and their stats are. So this is sort of similar to that. This is not exactly what the state is looking for of Connecticut, but I'll explain later. It proves that if we have all of those 3 temp, CO2, and relative humidity, we're hitting our marks on those. That's proof that we're circulating enough fresh air, we're controlling the temperature properly, and making a comfortable environment. So this is kind of like the Boston thing. And part of this process was to create something we didn't have, which was HVAC mapping. So that's all indoor and outdoor equipment on paper maps so we can see where they're at. And that helps us through troubleshooting to say we have a vendor come in, we have to have them go look at a certain unit. It also directly nomenclature ties to the BMS system, which helps us navigate. It's a pretty big computer system, so to quickly get to the unit and help troubleshoot. Next slide. This is the biannual survey. You probably cannot read all those items, but they're pretty small. Every employee is invited to participate, so not just teachers, anyone that is in our school buildings that has an email address through the school, so roughly 1,000 people. We usually get in the neighborhood of 120 to 200 responses, so we actually do pretty good. The key to that is keeping it short so that it's not a big lift for them to fill out. Like I said before, it's aligned with these checklists, so it's asking us similar questions, just a boiled down version. We take in the data from these checklists, we print out the reports and send it to the schools. So each school, whether they can handle it locally, I see cobwebs, that's something that we can do locally with the cleaning staff as a step up the clean, the dusting. Or if we have a greater problem, such as pest control or moisture that keeps reoccurring that we're not aware of, this is a tool that we can use to reach out and say, we weren't aware of that, and then begin looking into the problem. We have things that come up such as we'd like to have our gym air conditioned, and that's something that really we all would like to have that, of course, but it's not really actionable. It's not really what we're looking for on an indoor air quality survey. It's something we can't control until we put air conditioning in the gyms. Next slide, please. This sensor, the data behind the scenes that we collect, looks like we can look at it in an Excel sheet, or we can look at it in a graphical way. And the graphical way is on the right there to show all of the 4 components that it measures and how we're looking through the day. It's been really very handy for Anna Reynolds when we're trying to commission that building and get it fine-tuned to provide, because our BMS systems don't log data. They give you what's happening right at that moment, and that's it. We don't have the feature of logging past data. These log data forever. So we can go back and we can break it up, slice it and dice it, and look at certain time frames, or last week or last month or the last year. We will be deploying these to all occupied spaces. They're 24/7, so they're watching night and day. We see it's great. You can see when people arrive at the building, the CO2 levels kick up because we're breathing CO2, and then when it goes, when they leave the building, you can see it dip down on these charts on the right. The results are saved, as I mentioned. We also have a future need for these where we have an industrial, a hygienist that will analyze the data that comes out of these as part of a 5-year plan that the state's looking for us to commit to. So there's this annual thing that we do each year, and then there's this longer term 5-year indoor air quality thing that I'll go over here in a second. So this is an example of the maps that we created. You can kind of get an understanding of what's going on in the rooms. For instance, at this school, we've got the blue squares are unit ventilators. So unlike your system at your house that's air conditioning or heating, our schools and commercial buildings, we have, how many people we have in here, 20 people, or we had 40, 50 earlier. When you have that many people in a room, you've got to change the air out. So you have to bring fresh air in, unlike your home system, most likely, and keep that air circulating to keep the carbon dioxide down. So we can look at this and we can understand those outside units are bringing the fresh air in, and the inside units that are orange squares are contributing just for cooling in the summer. So we've got kind of a combination of things going on. And the green is a big rooftop unit that just blows into the room and circulates air from the roof, so bringing air straight from the roof. Again, these are handy for troubleshooting, kind of a visual understanding of how the systems are working. And if we have vendors come in, they can quickly understand, oh, okay, I see, that's the heating, that's the cooling, and so forth. It also was very handy when we changed our maintenance staff, our HVAC person. This was super handy for him to get caught up and understand how the buildings work. Next slide, please. This is a look behind the scenes in a BMS system. So on the right is a air handling unit, and that air handling unit has a bunch of changeable features, and it has a bunch of information that's going on there that help us troubleshoot. And we can kind of, before going to the building, understand what we're up against most likely. We have 3 different versions of this. This is the more modern version of the one that we have in most schools. This is not what we have in Anna Reynolds. And then we have an older version that's a little bit antiquated that we're going to have to update at some point. And it's a little bit more like computer programming. It's a little bit older type system, not so graphical and pretty pictures. But we can do this from a PC. We can take a look at this. If people are too hot or too cold, we can adjust their temperature and do a bunch of other things. The big advantage to the BMS system, probably the greatest advantage, is we can schedule with it. And when we have occupied times, we heat and air conditioning the space to a higher level for comfort. And when we don't have occupied times, we can turn that back and, have a minimal amount of energy use and still keep the building safe. Next slide. So these are those 3 key factors. And if our theory here is if we're within the acceptable ranges and the happy ranges on all 3 of these, it proves that our systems are working correctly. It's a different way of looking at it than the specific state requirements, which say you shall go inside each unit. And we have 880 units, I believe, is the number. And you shall take it apart and you shall use the computer and run it and see if everything works, which we did 1 unit and it took 2 hours to take the unit apart. We were doing it just because we had a complaint and we had to prove either it was not working or was working. So this method, using these little guys and using our BMS system, is a more sustainable way to do this with the limited staff that we have. It's also very expensive to bring that outside firm in and look at the little components to make sure they're working and measure the actual airflow that's coming out of these units. If we hit all these marks, we've accomplished an acceptable environment. So this is the final slide. And so this 1-year thing that we're doing, we do this each year, and it is designed to do with in-house staff. So myself, others are able to contribute. We're able to fill these sheets out and answer it adequately. The 5-year requirement is more focused not on the dust and the moisture. It's really heavily focused on the air conditioning and heating systems. And they want to bring in what's called an air balancer to each unit, the 880 units, and measure the amount of air that unit puts out, and bring in the scientists who are the hygienists to measure quantities of gases and particulate in the air of the classrooms. So these are some rough figures that we met with both of those parties on what it would take to do this 5-year plan as stated in the requirements. That's not that $340,000 figure. It's a rough figure. We don't have to do that year 1. The first chance we'll have to submit on this, unless things change, which they have in the past, is July 1st, 2026. So that's right around the corner. That's next summer. But we only have to do 20% of our schools, so 1/5 for the 5 years. We have a bit of a jump start on it. It doesn't exactly meet the criteria of the school, but last year we did a spot check around the schools with the hygienist part of it, not the mechanical person that looks at the airflows of the units. So we do have something that gets us most of the way through that first submittal. But the going from individual unit to individual unit it'll be a lot of money. So we're hoping, we have a request into the state that with the previous slide, the algebra of the 3 items, that would be a suitable substitute, because we're lucky enough to have this building management system, which is the computerized system that not every school, I imagine, has. And we have these guys out there watching what's happening the whole time and leading us to problems. So we're hoping that we can avoid that $340,000 figure we saw earlier. And we do have the 60-some slides of presentation that we have sent them on the information and the reasoning behind it. We have not heard back, but we're hopeful that we might be able to use those 2 systems to avoid that cost. Do you have any questions for me? I think that's the end of it. You might have been.
I think they all went up at the same time.
Yeah.
Ms. Petrus.
First off, I am totally blown away how you and your staff maintain our buildings. It is just incredible with so many moving parts, so many changes in requirements. I just can't thank you enough. Our buildings are amazing, always look amazing, but the behind the scenes piece of it is really incredible. So huge thank you. I have a quick question. I maybe just need to clarify actually.
Sure.
The sensor units, do you have enough sensor units to continue with the work that you're doing? If I heard correctly, it sounded like you had more coming, but are you totally set for that, or is there any more that you need? And do they have a shelf life issue? Is there something like they need to be replaced every couple of years, or how do we maintain them?
They need to be recalibrated. So the recalibration is turning them off in an environment where you don't have a bunch of people around. So we don't have a lot of carbon dioxide. We have more like an outdoor air condition. Carbon dioxide generally around here is around 420 parts per million outdoors. So we want that kind of like that condition. We turn them off, we turn them back on, we hit a button on here and it calibrates it. So I don't know what the lifespan is of them. I imagine it's got to be around 5 to 10 years. I can find the answer out for that. They're not watching anything that's like life safety or anything where it would be like, oh, if they went bad, we would be at any risk. So we would check them regularly. If they start going out of spec, we would, it's not doing us much good any longer, but we do have comparables that we can look at to make sure that they're still operating correctly. We have air conditioning systems such as Anna Reynolds that's got a more sophisticated monitoring system in it. So we can compare what we're seeing on that to this and confirm they're working all right. We also have some newer units at other schools that are watching those 3 criteria. So yeah, we to answer your question, what we have for quantities, we have 175 of these units currently. The remainder that we have on order will cover all the schools. So it's a half and half. The purchase order is out there, but we're taking half order and then we're going to pay for that half order and get the other half, and that'll solve putting one of those in all classrooms and occupied spaces.
So it sounds like we have a long-term plan that's actually in place and ready to go then. So
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for being so proactive on that.
Yeah, no, it answers a lot of questions for us, and it saves us a lot of calls where we can see what's really going on out there. We get the call, it's stuffy in my room. They're inexact. It's hot in my room. Well, we find out often it's 71.5. That's right where it ought to be. So, it helps us with our actions to assist people and set their expectations. Yeah.
Ms. Weaver.
Yes, thank you. No, thank you as always, Jason. I don't know about you, but I love this presentation. I always get excited about it. I know not everyone would agree, but I think so. Just a question on I know with the legislative mandates, is the cost for the 340K, is that over the 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
5 years.
Okay, so that's like, it's not every year, that situation. Okay, just clarifying that.
Correct.
Yeah. And then I guess, do you have any idea as you wait for the state to respond when their time frame to get back to you is?
I don't.
Okay.
What we've seen with this, as this rolled out, we saw it roll out with dates that were prior to July
Yeah.
2026, and then it crept a little bit to the right, and it crept a little bit to the right. I have the strangest feeling that there will be some wiggle room in it just watching the past, but no, I don't have a expected time frame.
No worries, and I think that was me leading to, I think the state has moved as well, in terms of those 5 years might be pushed out continuously.
Yeah, or the exact requirements.
Okay.
I know there was, we listened into one of the state meetings and there was a concern by parties that there aren't enough. So air balancers there's not a lot of them there aren't a lot of them in the state. And they're hardly enough to do the new construction projects. Let's take Anna Reynolds, let's take John Wallace. They're one of the parties that come in to get everything set up properly. So they're very hard to get. They're many weeks out of lead time just to get them on the new construction projects. So the reality of trying to get that short staffed already to every school in Connecticut, it's a challenge. It's known by, us and others that it's a resource that's not available to most likely to go to every school unless we train up a whole bunch of air balancers in the state.
Noted for our next academy track. Thank you. But thank you.
Did it pay well or? Is probably at this rate, right?
Sounds like it.
Mr. Hall. Oh, okay. See, wait long enough, then he doesn't speak. Anybody else have any questions? Comments?
So,
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
presentation. Thank you for bringing a device. Very cool. Okay, next agenda item is discussion and possible action on revising upcoming meeting dates. So after we voted on the budget dates, it was brought to our attention that February 16th is President's Day. So we would like to propose canceling that day and then add February 19th. So just, I think that's that Thursday. So there is a motion.
I will move the Board of Education cancel the February 16th, 2026 meeting and approve the added February 19th, 2026 meeting for the 2025-2026 school year.
Motion second, any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mary Beatrice,
Yes.
Sean Halloran,
Yes.
Larissa Lindsay,
Yes.
Timothy Newton,
Yes.
Yes.
Ryan Stevo,
Yes.
Dr. Gail Stanley,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously, 8-0.
Thank you. All right, and now we have our PTA, PTO PAC representation. So in the packet, but this is just the schedule of PTO slash PAC slash whatever PTA meetings for our schools and assignees to each meeting. So if we do encourage board members to attend meetings, just because it helps to, get out there and have the PTO members, all three of them. I don't know why they're all different names, but yeah, good visibility and sometimes they have questions on things and good discussions come out of them. So if you cannot make a meeting, just ask a fellow board member to cover for you. I do have Tuesday night classes next semester, so unfortunately I won't be able to make the ones that are at 6, which is my own schools, Kellogg and Reynolds. So I'll be reaching out if someone can cover for me. But yeah, and yes, Mr. Halloran.
We're not limited to these, are they? Like, if we want to sit in on any PTA PAC meeting, it's appropriate to do so?
Totally fine.
Yeah, I would just reach out to the principal.
Yep.
Give them a heads up. Ms. Weaver?
And also, as alluded to in our last special meeting, you can attend any meeting as a parent too and just notify like, hey, these are things, but it's great too to solicit feedback. And I think often we all report back what we've heard on those things. So I encourage you to share at the board table what you hear.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Stewart. Is your mic on?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything I need to know before I go to any of these meetings?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need to know anything. I think it's just the guidelines are don't promise things that you can't do or don't, be aware of what Ms. Ritter said at our 6 o'clock meeting today. They might ask you questions that you won't have the answer to and you just say you'll find out and get back to them. And yeah, if there's any you can bring, because at the end of every single board meeting, we have the opportunity for remarks by board members. So you can bring up something that you heard there at that portion of the meeting, or obviously reach out to Dr. Brummett if a question comes up that you answer.
Is all the times the same?
They're at the bottom.
Okay.
So
Yep.
yeah. And then we do ask the principals to send a lot, some of them are, I know Anna Reynolds is virtual optional. So we ask that the principal send you a calendar invite and a meeting link if there is one. But if you don't get it, you can reach out or just show up. They're all in the media center except for Reynolds is in the cafeteria and the times are there.
It's kind of a neat.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're all run differently. So like some might have you go, like, they might give you an opportunity to speak and you just be like, hi, I'm Brian, new to the board and just here for if you have any questions or concerns. Yeah.
There's sometimes you be there for an hour after.
Yeah. Good question. Okay. All right. And discussion possible action on our capital improvement plan.
Alrighty, thank you very much. As has been alluded to several times tonight, we have a capital improvement plan, and just for board members that weren't at the subcommittee meeting, we have two funding streams in our budget. One is the operating budget, which you're going to hear a lot about in February forward. But tonight you'll hear about our capital improvement plan, which does need to be sent to the town this month. If for some reason we can't approve it this evening, we'd have to just alert the town that we need more time. So this is a request that we make to the town annually for various capital items. So in your board packet is this document, and I'll be showing it on the screen. And this is largely a summary. It gives a little bit of an overview of what is entailed in our capital improvement budget. So I'll do a little bit of quick history and then I'll get into our request for next year. I will spend a little more time on our bus replacement cycle as well as our technology replacement cycle because those are large ticket items and it's important for the board to understand why those requests are made and what purpose they serve. So I won't go over the table of contents, but as by means of background, anything in this budget request booklet is something that is a larger priced item. It's related to the facilities or infrastructure of the school district. It must have a lifespan of at least 7 years, as well as a price point of $25,000 or more. Anything that doesn't fit that criteria would be in our board operating budget request that you'll hear more about in February. So again, this is designed to make sure, and you've heard many presentations over the time, well, not so much our new board members, but our current board members about what we do to keep our facilities up to date and running well. And an example tonight of the air quality. These are things that many of these components are listed in this capital improvement plan. We are also, so there's two prongs to this capital improvement plan. One is called the public school capital improvement plan that we largely fund ourselves. And the other is the town capital improvement plan. So I will go over both of those tonight. Some examples of projects that are typically funded under this plan are listed on this page. It's page 4. And it includes, overarching lighting improvements, district-wide systems controls, like what Mr. Plum mentioned earlier, sidewalks, driveways, sometimes there's repairs needed, track has had to be repaired before, or tennis courts, technology, which I'll get into momentarily, district vehicles. Not only do we buy our own buses, but if you've seen any of our vans that drive around town, they are also purchased using capital resources, carpeting. So those are just some samples of playground enhancements. Those are some examples of how this money's been used historically. On this page, which is in your booklet, page 5 of 9, is our projected and historical revenues for the public school CIP fund. And I wanted to kind of show the board that on this page, and maybe I can blow it up a bit, we are given annually from the town $125,000. And then the rest of the money for this capital improvement fund comes from receipts and other income sources. So under 25-26, where my cursor is, I believe you can see my cursor, we have the $125,000 allocation from the town. We also have investment income, which is income that we get on accounts that are interest bearing. Tuition receipts, a lot of that money that you see there comes from our open choice students who are special education. And that money that we bill to Hartford comes back and is deposited here. School rental receipts, anytime our schools are used by outside agencies, churches, dance companies, those monies that we pull in from charging those organizations are deposited here. So this year, we believe our revenue between what's allocated to us and the money that's coming in will be about $1.3 million. And you can see we project out over the coming 5 years. Obviously, these are a snapshot in time. We can only go with what we know right now. But right now, we believe these are good estimates of where we're headed. Obviously, as in these out years, we will continue to refine those estimates over time. But we're required to send the town our 5-year plan. You can see some historical numbers here on the bottom component of this slide that show, again, the appropriation from the general fund is always $125,000, but our investment income and our tuition receipts can vary. I do want to point out to the board these areas that are highlighted in yellow. These are years where some of our tuition receipts were returned to the town, but in a very structured way so that they would offset our budget with that. So in previous years, we've done some creative collaboration with the town to offset our operating budget by transitioning money sometimes that we had left over in capital or from monies that we get from the open choice program. So these are just notations about years when we did do that. So you can read through that at your leisure. This page reflects where we're currently at right now in our capital budget. So oftentimes we'll put a projection out there of where we thought we were going to spend the money, and then life gets in the way and we change that. And it is permissible to change what we initially were allocated or how we allocated it and change it to a different line item as long as it's an appropriate expenditure for a capital expense. So for example, this year we planned about $60,000 for district-wide security and safety. But then we needed a little bit more money for that so we could get those radios that I believe were talked about earlier and some additional security cameras, which we rely heavily on. You'll see that we transferred that money from different lines. Initially, we believe we would spend about $750,000 on our Chromebooks and other networking devices. We ended up needing more than that, about $941,000. So we transferred that from other lines. The HVAC that I believe Jason referenced briefly tonight, or perhaps Mr. Halloran did actually, where we have units at some of our schools that are outdated and need replacement, so that those resources went there. We did not need to do any district-wide painting at this time, so that's where some of those other categories that went a little higher, we transferred money over there. District-wide carpet, we didn't need to worry about, so that was transferred into some of those other lines. District-wide playgrounds, didn't need to use that, that's been transferred. And the district-wide vehicles, we are in the process of purchasing a technology van, and what that is a van that allows our computer technicians who are housed at Chafee, but do need to travel between every school with equipment, so we need them to have a work van to leverage. So again, these are already approved expenditures. We've just had to make a few shuffles to make it work. Yes.
I just wanted to note that Mr. Barnes was noting that when we get like a vehicle, it's not like we're going with the Mercedes-Benz,
No.
thing. This is like what's reasonable and within always just.
It's we are very cost effective that way. We buy used vehicles because you get a lot of, much cheaper price. Looking ahead on this chart, you will see the areas that we believe will be expenditures in the coming 5 years. We have noted down at the bottom, excuse me, higher appropriations to these lines. Again, we are taking in more open choice revenues for these line items. We anticipate probably $1.2 million in open choice revenue this year. So that does allow us to have slightly a little more additional expenditures here. So next year, we anticipate providing some laboratory improvements, most likely at Martin Kellogg. Some of their bathrooms are quite outdated and in need of some plumbing upgrades. We did one bathroom over the summer. We anticipate another bathroom next summer. HVAC upgrades, much to what Mr. Plum is referencing, making sure our HVAC systems are up to snuff. So we have to look at, some of them have outdated gas that's no longer made. So you have to, once those mechanisms reach their useful life, you have to replace them because they just don't exist anymore. We anticipate district-wide safety and security, most likely in the area of cameras and more radios. I'll get into in more detail in a subsequent slide about our district-wide technology infrastructure. I want to really show the board how that money is spent. And next year, we do anticipate asking for a district-wide vehicle. We've got a box truck that is that the right one, Lynn? Is it a box truck? Electrician's van. It's way beyond its useful life, several hundred thousand miles on it. So we plan to replace that if this all goes according to plan. And in the out years, again, full disclosure, most of that is somewhat estimations based on needs we don't know that we're going to have yet, other than the technology infrastructure, because we do have a very specific replacement cycle that we analyze every year to try to level out how much we need year to year. So at the bottom of this page, you'll see that we plan to request from the town approval of the $1.4 million for next year. Mind you, approval is an interesting word because this is really mostly self-funded. The only thing that the town really contributes is the $125,000, which is part of our town charter to get that annually.
I just have a question. In the estimate, it's 1.375, but then the up here,
So which page are you on?
I'm on page 5, and for 26, 27, it says that the projected revenue is 1.375.
Mhm.
So the request is what we're wanting
I
to
see what
use
you're
is
saying.
1.4.
Okay, we'll make that adjustment.
I just like,
We just have
the
to,
estimate.
those numbers need to match. And again, those are what we're estimating is going to be achieved as revenues, but those numbers should match. So we will make that correction on page 8.
7.
I'm sorry, yes, 7 of 8. It's page 8 on my slideshow, but 7 of 8 in the booklet.
Yeah.
So I'll ask Lynn just to make a note of that so we can make that correction on page 7 of 9. The number needs to match the previous page. All right.
So that just means that we have less available to spend. But we're projecting that we will have, we need to project we have the money there. So either we project more or we spend.
Exactly. So I'm going to ask Lynn to look at that for the upcoming school year, the 26-27 school year, and see which number is more accurate reflection of what we anticipate we will have. Just by means of background for the board, we recently entered into an MOU that was approved that does allow us to have a higher cap. It used to be the cap on this account, it was 1.2 million. But with the advent of more open choice revenues, as well as our our school rentals have gone up over the years, especially they were down quite a bit during the COVID era. So those revenues tend to be going up, and our investment income is a little higher than it used to be. So our usable resources here have gone up over the years, necessitating us to ask the town to increase the cap, which they have done through an MOU process.
Because for the new people on the board, we
Is your
don't
mic
do
on?
that. I'm sorry,
No, you're
the
fine.
town will take that money and take it. So that's why we asked for that MOU. If we don't,
If we're
we can't
above the
go over
cap,
if we're over the cap. So with us getting more money, the town will take that $300,000 or $400,000 if we don't get an agreement.
Yes, that's a very important point, that any money not utilized is sent back to the town at the end of the fiscal year.
And just curious too, we don't have final projections on our reimbursement rate yet for the tuition or for open choice. We don't get those until,
Meaning for open choice?
Yeah.
Right
I
now,
know we were like appealing the,
yeah, we're hovering right around 4% because we've added more students. So we have asked for consideration for full reimbursement. No, we haven't heard back on that yet.
you know, I just keep asking.
But you can-
I'm like, get back to us, please. That'd be great. Thank you.
But this is special ed, right? This is the special ed
Correct.
reimbursement, so it also varies on.
It does. Special ed it's again, hard to predict. You can only go by what you know when you make this booklet. Because numbers from special ed can vary and the cost of those services can vary. What Ms. Weaver is referring to though is we get, in addition to the special ed reimbursement, Newington receives over $1 million for regular ed open choice students through various grant revenue streams. And that varies based on our participation rate. This year, we anticipated having about 4% of our population be open choice students. And we did open up those seats, but we didn't get every seat filled or some students moved. They have to live in Hartford or they can't participate in open choice. However, throughout the year, we've had a few new students come in. And ironically, if a student who's a Newington student moves to Hartford, which does happen, we can appeal to open choice to let them stay in the district via the open choice program. And we've done that in numerous scenarios through Mr. Farisi's office or mine, where we've become aware of a situation where families moved. So those are all moving parts, so to speak. But we keep our eye on that very closely. So again, these are, I think I skipped a page, just want to make sure. So we will correct that inconsistency on this page or the previous page, whichever way we go. On page 9, this is called the pay as you go or the town capital improvement plan. Now, this is the money that we actually are requesting of the town, which they would need to appropriate to us. It's not money that we're self-funding. And I want to draw your attention to this year's capital fund. We received a very small amount. Again, we get $125,000 appropriation that's guaranteed. And then we received $300,000 to pave Garfield Street, which is underway right now. We only received $137,000 for our bus request, and we asked for over $1 million. So there was a huge shortfall there. And frankly, $137,000 doesn't even buy you one bus. We were fortunate at the end of the fiscal year last year, we were able to use some resources left over from unexpended money toward paras to make up for that loss. But as Mr. Halloran said earlier, we've been very significantly underfunded in buses. So I'm going to go into that bus replacement cycle momentarily, but as you can see in our out years, besides the bus replacement cycle, which we're asking for a pretty substantial amount of money, we also next year are requesting for Ruth Chafee paving for the parking lot. The upper and lower parking lots are not in great condition, and we don't want anyone damaging their car or having an accident, fall. So that is a recommendation for a capital expense. John Patterson is in need of a partial roof replacement, not the part where there's solar panels. We knew this was coming, so that was not a part where solar panels went, but that's a part over by where the kindergarten pre-K wing is and the gymnasium. And then we are asking $1.5 million for our bus replacement cycle, which I will get into momentarily. And you'll see in the bottom row here, our request for busing unfortunately continues to go up. That's a function of a bus, the cost of buses goes up every year. Right now, the industry average is about 10%, between 6 and 10%. And then B, there's, again, because of the shortfall for a number of years, we have a lot of buses that we need to buy. So let me just see on this very last page. is something that we didn't add anything to this year, but this would be where in previous years, the board had listed on this page some of our building projects that are now underway. So these are where you have large expenditures that have to go to referendum for bonding purposes. So we're not recommending anything anytime soon. We're always keeping our eye out for turf field over at Alumni Field. We almost had a challenge with the field this year when we made the championship round and the field had been rained upon. So we keep an eye on that, but unfortunately that's a very big expense and it continues to go up. We also believe in about 5 to 6 years, maybe a little longer, Martin Kellogg School will need a renovation, but we're still too far out on that to give you any accurate figures. And we're always looking out for how we can expand our pre-K programs. We're pretty much at max as to how far we can expand. So really that would be a capital expense of maybe expanding on one of our schools if we could. So that's the initial booklet. I would now maybe turn it over for questions, but I plan on going right into the bus replacement and eventually the technology replacement cycles.
Okay, are there any questions on this? Okay, Ms. Weaver.
Just a technical, if we would like to pass this tonight, we just want to note as amended.
As amended, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. That's interesting. Let's see.
Oh, and I'll also just note that we tend to this is very much a moving target when it comes to the bonding projects. We tend to move those out
We do, yes.
all the time. Just, it's a predictor. It's not a thing that's locked in where we have to say, we're going to do this in 2027 or we're going to do that in X amount of time. They're just on the horizon and it's something to keep in the back of our minds. But this is by no means, if you vote on the capital plan, you're not saying these have to be locked into those dates, just to clarify.
No, again, a lot of this is a snapshot in time. For some reason, my presentation just went haywire. I think I have it elsewhere. Give me 1 second to overcome these technical difficulties. It almost looks like AI got in the middle of it. So here's the bus.
Is it fleet replacement?
It's fleet. Oh, there we go. Okay. I might need technology up here. What's it doing?
Why is it so big?
When I put it on my screen, it does this kind of scramble. I wonder if it's you.
Oh, there we go. She fixed it.
Thanks for your help. Looking over my shoulder to solve my problems.
You can have the van now.
That's it. Van's approved. Thank you very much. All right, so the bus replacement cycle can be complex, but
Okay.
look at that.
Okay.
As stated already, we have had inconsistent allocations over the last, significant history. We just unfortunately have just not had, we've been encouraged and we've worked with the town to establish a bus replacement cycle, but it's never been fully funded. And that does create where we're at now. So the bubble was created shortly before I arrived. I arrived in 2019, but during the years of 2013 to 2018, there were a significant number of buses purchased. And now those buses are at that 11-year replacement cycle. And what that means is we have to run buses safely. They have to be roadworthy. They're evaluated and looked at all the time per state mandate. So you have to have a bus in a certain amount of working order in order for it to be roadworthy for school children. And the 11-year replacement cycle is what we landed on several years ago. We're on the higher end. If we had like DATCO or First City, they replace their buses every 8 years. So we're on the higher end of that to be more cost effective, and we keep really good care of our buses. But we are in a bind right now because there are a lot of buses needing replacement, and that's what's created this funding cliff, for lack of a better word. And just so that for our new board members, some of you might ask, well, why didn't you ask for more bus money previously? We did. Every year we've asked. And unfortunately, now that it's gone unanswered for a number of years, the costs have escalated, and post-COVID bus prices did go up substantially.
Yeah, we were hoping to build like a fund for buses, right? So that we
Right.
could, we knew this was coming so that a few years ago, we could have added to the fund and then had the money available, but
That just never happened. So this chart can be a little complicated, but let's look at this year. At the end of this school year, buses that were purchased in 14-15 need to retire. And that is necessitating the purchase of 7 full-size buses for this upcoming year. And then you can see in out years, 2027, 28, we're in need of buses in the neighborhood of 7, 8, and even 9 buses in the coming years. We have a full-size fleet. Our fleet has 71 buses. Now, there's not 71 buses on the road at all times. That fleet size includes, buses that are for athletics, buses that are even older than 11 years that we keep in the event that a bus might need repair. We can't not run buses, so we have a few spares, which per Dean, they recommend per industry standard, about 20% of your fleet you should have in reserve, so that you don't ever have a day where you've got 5 buses that broke down and you got no buses to use. So as you can see, there are multiple sizes. Full size are what you see on the road most often. Then you get behind them and you get a little frustrated because you have to go slow. And then we have smaller buses that typically service our special needs populations or smaller bus routes. There's 22 passenger, 12 passenger, wheelchair, even some vans, and then athletic buses. So we serve a multitude of purposes. And eventually they're going to go back to Garfield Street. Right now they're at the transfer station. But next year, to summarize, we need 7 buses.
Takes how long to get them now? 18 months?
It varies. During the height of post-COVID, it's a 2-year lead time. Most recently, we saw a quicker turnaround, 3 to 4 months. But then once they arrive, they need to be prepped. And that happens at DATCO headquarters. They have to have certain specifications. So you can see our cost escalation, and thank you, Lynn. She's our graphic artist here, along with Craig Holland. The cost escalation of buses over the last short amount of time, 4 years, you can see a full-size bus 4 years ago was $123,000. Now next year we anticipate it being about $155,000. And as you can go through this chart, $91,000 on a 12-passenger bus is now 122, and 22-passenger bus was 91, now it's 110, and so on and so forth. So things don't get any cheaper. I don't think that surprises anyone around the table, but that just, again, creates our current status of having a big ask. And this is just a different look at how our bus sizes are disaggregated. But as you can see, the biggest amount of buses, or the largest number of buses, are the full-size buses that most people see throughout town during school days.
Just wanted to clarify too on the athletic buses that I didn't know, but Mr. Barnes gave, those are like retrofitted ones, but they also have a different classification so that we can get bus drivers don't have to be school bus drivers. They can be like CDL certified. So that way we can get some of our retired bus drivers back in if they can do like a quick route or something like that. So they're just repainted regular school buses.
They're repurposed.
They're not like,
they're not used
buying
as
extra
often.
ones, yeah.
So they can be used buses. We do every possible strategy to minimize how much we're asking for, such as repurposing older buses for the athletic runs. So again, we deferred over the last 11 years. 31 buses have been deferred. And now the low allocation that we got last year, 137,000, with the annual inflation of about 6%, you're seeing this big ask. So this is the projection. And maybe, Lynn, I'm going to ask you to explain this bar chart if you wouldn't mind.
Then get your mic. Sorry, they can hear you.
The bubble occurred because we have so many vehicles that have to be retired in the next few years. So if you're looking, the amount of money that we got was 137,000, but we actually needed quite a lot more. And every year going forward, we need more. It's a vicious cycle that we need to fix. So we need to break this bubble and purchase vehicles so that we can keep our kids safe and our vehicles on the road.
Right, so what Lynn is sharing is, last year we got 137,000, but we really asked for over $500,000. We have a chart here that shows how you would try to smooth out this bubble so we're not spending as much year to year. And Lynn's projected a little bit, what she calls the flattening of the bubble, with the top line being a little less pricier than the bottom line. So we are trying to spread out these expenses. Again, we tried to do it much earlier than now, but it wasn't funded. So we are, again, at that point of needing to ask for a pretty big sum of money next year for buses. All right.
And for foreseeable future.
Yes, for the next 5 years, that's a valid point. I'll ask Lynn to explain this lively and colorful chart.
The actual bubble scenario is to the left, and it shows that we only received the 137, which rounds up to 0.14. And what we will actually need next year is 1.6 million, the next year 1.24, the next year 1.2, and 0.99. If we smoothed it out and purchased things in a more even fashion, it would make it less of an ask every year. And it could help to make a cyclical request so that we always know how many we're going to buy every year after we break the bubble, and we can keep it nice and even and not have a bubble again.
Yeah, so like not buy 7 in 1 year is what you're saying, yeah.
Yes.
Because we have 7 this year, 7 next year. And that's another bubble in
Exactly.
11 years. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And then this is another visual that Lynn and Craig created to show what our replacement plan estimate was. And the orange reflects the actual funding we got. And you can see in earlier years that orange, which is the money that was actually provided, is pretty low compared to what we needed. And you can see it going. So in 22-23, we did get a fairly decent allocation. But since then, it's been low to almost non-existent. You can barely see the orange on the chart. So it has put us in a bit of a bind, as I've mentioned. So again, our strategic recommendation is to adopt the smooth plan, transition to a fixed annual replacement target of 6 to 8 vehicles, distribute the backlog over the next 4 fiscal years, and budget for inflation. Previously, we put in that account request kind of a flat number, but I had gotten feedback from the town that we really should also account for inflation. I don't know how that will hopefully make a difference, but again, even the initial rates that we proposed were not funded. But we're hoping, we will explain this when the time comes to the town, when this is presented again to the town, that this is just something that needs to happen. So I'll leave that open for any questions back to the board chair.
Mr. Skivo, go ahead.
How did we get to this bubble as far as, how do we start, how did it get out of hand? Like as far as
2015, they stopped buying buses.
they stopped buying buses?
They stopped funding buses, yes. So we just haven't gotten
So
bus
it got
funding.
worse and worse over
Well,
the,
Yeah.
historically, like the reason that they were able to buy buses in, what year is it? The 7 buses is there, and this is something that we'll get into with the budget. We have this, well, previously, this doesn't happen anymore, but previously with our health insurance and benefits, if the benefits weren't expended, that money would come back to the Board of Ed. And in some years, it could have been upwards of like $1+ million. So a lot of times that money was used to buy buses from the previous superintendent. So that is how, at least one of the reasons why so many buses were able to be bought in 1 year. It wasn't that the town was giving the money necessarily, but that the insurance situation has changed. We don't get like a large chunk of money back because we're estimating better and paying what upfront what we should be paying as opposed to paying too much for benefits. So now that dried up essentially. So now, like Dr. Brummett has said, the town is the town needs to give us money again because it's part of our capital plan. It's not part of our operating budget. So we just didn't get the resources. Ms. Weaver.
And I would say too, the thing we want to avoid is making this happen in another 11 years. And we've already stretched the cycle for 11 years. I mean, the recommended per Mr. Barnes is like 8, max like 10. And we're already stretching that a little bit. Not to the point of compromising safety.
We can't, no.
We
they're
can't do that.
inspected.
But they're inspected every 90 days. I think it's important just to do that. And then also to note too, just for the public, I know it comes up every time we talk about these things, but why we own our buses versus not and the comparatives. And I know Mr. Barnes will, at some point, we'll have him come and kind of do the cost comparison and look at the insane contracts that DATCO has and First Achievement. And that those are actually going up too, and you have to renegotiate those every like 5 years now. And they are for profit. We are not for profit. So I think just important points that came out of our facilities and finance subcommittee that are helpful to contextualize this.
Mr. Halloran and Mr. Newton.
Yeah, I think that it's important to note some of the context to the history. To Mr. Skibo's question too, is that there's been a lot of compromises since this cycle program was initially implemented. It was supposed to be an even distribution for every year so we could plan for it. But I think one of the first compromises was, can we keep buses in service for longer? I think Mr. Barnes wanted 8 years. We pushed it out to 11. So we're keeping him in service longer. And then the deferment of 31 buses. When you have a fleet of 71, that's almost deferring half your entire fleet. And now they're getting to the point where we can't put unsafe buses on the road, but it's getting to that point where how long can you maintain those buses? Parts are going to stop being made, right? Like for a bus that's over a decade old. And I think that that's part of the reason that I think Lynn did a wonderful job of putting this into a nice visual for us, is that it's an investment. And it will happen again. It's cyclical. So we have to kind of level it out. But that's not pretending like this isn't going to be easy. It's a big ask, but it's also an investment. And the longer we delay this investment, the more expensive that's going to be just because of the inflationary criteria. And I think you see the big, in the first column, we need 7 buses. I'm like, those are 7 full-size buses. We've got a lot of different buses out there, especially ones that cater to special needs students. And those populations are increasing. And those buses take a lot of wear and tear. So I think that as much as I don't want to ask that much money from the town, I don't think there's a way around it. I think that at this point, this is our best plan going forward because we have taken deferment after deferment after deferment and concession after concession after concession to the point that puts us into a place where we're kind of in a corner. This is what our kids need. This is what our system needs. And, you know, I think Lynn has done a really great job of figuring out how to soften the blow as best as possible.
Mr. Newton.
In answer to your question, Brian, I'm going to say something that's not going to be popular. For the last 12 years, both parties, both councils have failed to properly fund the buses. The requests were put in place for other reasons. They felt they had other priorities. They were making other decisions. They failed to fund them. And now we're at a cliff. That's why we need so many.
Yeah, I would just say, I think when it comes budget time, you know, someone feels more comfortable cutting a bus than a staff member, right? And like that's, you know, the compromises we have to make all the time. And I think it's one of those things where I think it was Lynn who noted in our facilities and finance committee, like we've been kicking a can and like it's coming to roost. And we knew it would come to roost, but I think what's important is that we set up from a sustainable budgeting standpoint so that it does not come to roost in the next decade, when there will inevitably be another need for that. So smoothing the curve, I think, is the best option.
Do we have to decide, like vote on or decide to do the smooth versus?
I believe, Lynn, you put it in the plan that it would be the smoothed edition.
Okay.
So the request that's before you is the smooth
Okay.
bubble.
Yeah.
It'll be automatically in there, yes.
Good.
Other than that correction we need to make from
Yep.
earlier discussion. All right.
Look back at this, you'd see there were 7 years where there was zero fund.
Yes, that's the year the yellow or the orange is non-existent
Mhm.
or hard to see.
I like the graphs, just a side note. It makes it, yeah, it makes it really easy to kind of visualize other than just numbers.
I'll be using more graphs in my other budget presentation this year. Lynn's
Yeah.
promised to help me. All right. Without any further questions, I'd like to segue over to the IT CIP. And share this tab, and I think everything's working. So this is a little less complicated. We just wanted to give the board an overview, especially our newer board members, about life expectancy of our technology devices. Every year, kindergartners, fifth graders, and freshmen in high school all get a new refreshed Chromebook. They're a little different at the K4 level. They're touch, and whereas the older editions look a little different, but that is part of our replacement cycle. While they last about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, we do keep them around once they're retired, and they serve as parts warehouses, which we have stored over at Ruth Chafee so that we can do some of our own repairs whenever possible. iPads are typically issued to special education students who require them to sometimes speak for them. And also iPads are used in the special ed department for some of the testing that they need to do. We also keep an ongoing refreshment cycle for staff laptops. We have a specific lab at the high school for Project Lead the Way that has about a 4-year life expectancy. Desktops throughout the district have about a 5-year. And then the displays, like the one behind me, those tend to last about 10 years. And we also use similar displays for signage at a school. You might go into a school and see a student of the month picture flashing by, or at the high school, a lot of information's announcements on it. So those are how we use those. They last about 10 years. Infrastructure. So this budget not only includes devices like we all are using right now tonight, it also includes switches, firewalls, Wi-Fi access points, servers, backups, and battery backups, which we've had to invest in most recently. And those all have a lifespan anywhere between 3 and 7 years. And we thought you'd find it interesting, the kind of the history of our displays. Early on in our technological history, the smart boards were kind of the up and coming thing, and they were in play, mostly Mitsubishi or Usonics, or Mitsubishi really. They were in play from 2004 to 2011. Those are all starting to age out, and they become, as we've mentioned throughout the evening, when things age out and they're hard to find replacement parts for, and the replacement parts that you do find are quite pricey. Moving forward, we've gone to we had Walmart projectors that were interactive throughout the district. Many of those are still around. But our most recent iteration is the flat panel displays, and some are wall mounted, but many of them are on carts because that allows a teacher more flexibility with where he or she puts it in the classroom. So again, we've used different vendors, and we try to keep up with our technological advances, and that's how we have moved forward. But every classroom does have a display of some sort, and many office spaces do as well, or meeting rooms, I should say.
There's
Here-
really something from 2004 that's still in service.
It might be. Yeah, if it's there, it's in service.
That's my part.
But they're, yeah, maybe some of these were here when you were in school. They weren't. Yeah, that's more along my era. Chisels. This actually is the budget that we have in process right now, just so the board can gain an insight into what goes into that budget. As I mentioned, annually, each grade level that starts in a school gets a Chromebook, and the cost is as displayed here. So the younger Chromebooks are a little more expensive because they're touch, whereas the older Chromebooks are a little less expensive because they're not touch. So currently, we're in process of the refreshment for those grade levels. The Transition Academy this year is getting some, and the Transition Academy is located here. Those students are getting laptops this year. Laptop refreshes for just other staff members, instructional display refreshes, backup appliances, those things that help us keep everything running smoothly if there's a power outage. The various displays throughout the district. He's got the brand names here. And racks for the John Wallace project. So these are all different aspects of our technology replacement plan. We did invest, and the subcommittee heard this last week, but we have a current concern at our high school where I think most people know, our high school is an evacuation site. It has a generator. So it's supposed to be that when the power goes out, immediately the generator turns on. That device that does that is currently under repair. And it's going to take a long time to be repaired because it's an older device, and finding parts for it, they basically have to be made. While that's pending, we are feeling that our technology is at risk. So we are investing money in some additional power backups to get this going. We do have a relationship with our utility company that they come out and manually flip it to a generator, but that does take about an hour, and around that 1 hour mark, data can be lost. So we've learned through experiences that that's not something that we want to have happen. We do have some offsets though for our ask. We have DRIP money, that's a state grant that we anticipate getting soon. And we charge parents a Chromebook insurance every year. We can't mandate it, but we certainly encourage parents to do that. That money accumulates over time, and we historically have used it to do some offsets in the budget. So this year it's going to offset some of the items that you see above. So we have about $941,000 going into technology this year based on some of those offsets and how we're going to pay for them. For purposes of approval tonight, this is what we anticipate we need next year for our technology Chromebook cycle. Again, the grade levels, as I mentioned, K, 5, and 9. The project Lead the Way lab needs a refresh this year. It's like way overdue, actually. Laptop refreshes about 175, about 20 displays, firewalls, and some Samsung displays at the high school. We anticipate $117,000 again from Chromebook insurance. And that will lead us to our $782,000 of anticipated expenses for the technology replacement cycle.
Dr. Stanley?
The Transition Academy, isn't it a yearly thing either?
I'm sorry?
The Transition Academy, is that a yearly thing? It's not in your proposed budget?
No, they get it in a cycle. So once they've got their Chromebooks, that should be a 4-year cycle as well. The children are there from age 18 to 22. So every 4 years. All right. So I realize this is a lot of information all at once. And this is just one part of our budget. But that is the current request that we would like to make to the town. And again, this is the document with the modifications that we talked about earlier that we would like to send to the town with those adjustments that we need to make on those lines that don't add up. So I will turn it back to board chair for any further discussion.
Any questions, comments? Motion?
Looking at me like that. All right, I will move the Board of Education approve the capital improvement plan, CIP, for 2026 through 2031 as amended.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No? Okay, we are voting to approve this plan that we just,
Do we know when the town will need to approve the CIP budget?
it's part of the regular budget cycle, so we
Okay.
will not know until
Yep, that makes
way
sense.
late.
Okay.
Yeah, this goes into that. And yeah, just because we request it doesn't mean we'll get it. Anything else? Okay, voting to approve this plan as amended.
Mary Beatrice,
Yes.
Don Halloran,
Yes.
Marissa Lenzi,
Yes.
Timothy Newton,
Yes.
Amy Parati,
Yes.
Ryan Skiba,
Yes.
Dr. Gail Stanley,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously 8-0.
Thank you. Okay, back to public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. There's no one in the room, and if there's anyone online that can raise their hand. Seeing none, remarks by board members. Ms. Beatrice.
Just a thank you to Dr. Brummett, Mr. Farisi, Lynn, and the team. Two things really strike me today, and both are things that I hear from our families consistently that are of great import. One is paying special attention to the discussion about paras and the benefits and the work that they do, and giving them the true recognition that they deserve in helping our students. We hear this consistently at PTA meetings. We hear it when we talk to families out in the community. And kind of sort of dovetailing on that is the particular attention our families have regarding safety transportation to school. And our buses, we've had a long conversation about that. But again, our families recognize that thoughtful investment in both of these very, very important issues benefits our students in ways that are immeasurable. So I want to thank you guys and the team for putting together such an important and easily accessible, digestible piece of information that helps us and helps the community recognize how important these items are. And thank you for your advocacy in working with the town. So again, appreciation and looking forward to continuing these important discussions.
Thank you. Ms. Weaver.
Quickly, just want to say thank you to everyone in the administration that put in the work for these wonderful PowerPoints. As I said, I love the visualization. Want to thank our student reps, and also just want to say it's yesterday we a couple of us attended a school board association training and all of that. So Dr. Seeling's gotten a lot of overwhelming things, but I just want to know it's really great, and just want to thank everyone for participating tonight. To Shipman and Goodwin for providing those legal services. Just encourage all board members to continue to take advantage of that. It's very helpful. It's a lot and it's overwhelming, but it's very helpful to understand kind of the nature of our roles and responsibilities and all the fun things, and our wonderful copies of Robert's Rules of Order. But just want to say thank you to everyone, and congratulations to our wonderful card winners. I think this is a great to our Everyday Hero, but love our actual cards. They're so nice. I love them so much. And I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday season.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a great meeting, everybody.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Meeting adjourned at 9:26 p.m.